What would you do if a powerful institution stole everything from a dying loved one, hiding behind a wall of high-priced lawyers and legal clauses designed to make them untouchable? In today's story, a small-town lawyer takes on this exact fight, and his victory is a masterclass in how to handle it. My brother, Liam, was a pretty small-time lawyer, the kind of guy you call for a will or a minor dispute, not the kind you pit against a corporate giant. But one day, he got the call that would change his life, and the lives of many others. The case involved a wealthy elderly woman, let's call her Mrs. Eleanor Vance, who was in the twilight of her life, her memory fading under the cruel shadow of Alzheimer's. Her financial advisors, employees of a major national bank, had systematically siphoned away her entire fortune. She didn't realize a thing until the most basic of alarms was sounded. Her power was shut off. Every other big-time attorney in the area had already passed on the case or tried and failed to make a dent. When you're facing a legal team that collectively bills upwards of $10,000 an hour, it's not just an uphill battle. It's like trying to scale Mount Everest in a blizzard. Worse, the bank had an ironclad defense, a mandatory arbitration clause buried in Mrs. Vance's contract. For those who don't know, an arbitration clause is a corporation's get-out-of-jail-free card. It means you can't sue them in a real court. You can't conduct proper discovery, which is the process of formally demanding evidence. Even if you can prove their agent stole your money, the bank itself can't be forced to pay it back. It was obvious what had happened, but without access to the bank's internal records, proving it was nearly impossible. To add insult to injury, the bank had frozen Mrs. Vance's own accounts due to supposed fraud, preventing her from even getting her own statements to build a case. But Mrs. Vance's son just wanted to see the bank bend the knee, and my brother was all in. Liam became obsessed with avenging this woman. He worked his paying cases during the day and then spent his nights hunched over Mrs. Vance's files, often for months without seeing a dime. We later calculated that over the 7+ years the case dragged on, his effective pay rate was about $2.75 an hour. The bank had built an impenetrable fortress with its boilerplate contracts. But they forgot that even the mightiest fortress can fall if it has a single, overlooked crack in its foundation, and my brother was about to hammer a wedge into that crack with the force of a battering ram. After countless hours, he found an incredibly obscure technicality. The bank had failed to keep an original copy of the contract. This is apparently normal, but in this instance, their copies weren't reliable either. Liam, in a stroke of genius, noticed that the copies were almost, but not quite, identical to the standard contract. A few words were different, and the pages had been renumbered. He argued they weren't true duplicates, and since the person who signed the contract couldn't be deposed to confirm its contents, the judge simply threw the entire arbitration clause out. The decision was so significant it was written up in legal journals across the country. The fortress had been breached. The bank was now forced into discovery. After fighting and delaying until the last possible moment, the bank's lawyers made their move. On the Friday before the Monday discovery hearing, they dumped over 200 boxes of documents on my brother's doorstep. It was a classic intimidation tactic, meant to bury him in tens of thousands of pages of paper with only 72 hours to sift through it. Now, many legal experts would say that any sane lawyer would have immediately asked for a continuance, and they'd have been granted it. But the bank misjudged my brother. He wasn't just any lawyer, he was a man obsessed, and he knew that momentum was everything. He wasn't going to give them another second to breathe. He rented a hotel room for the weekend to avoid all disturbances, had a friend help him haul the boxes up on a dolly, and got to work. This reveals the bank's greatest fatal flaw, its blinding arrogance. The executives were so convinced of their own untouchable status that they failed to see the one thing that truly mattered, that a man with nothing to lose, fighting for a just cause, is the most dangerous opponent of all. Sometime in the bleary-eyed haze of that weekend, Liam found it. Buried in one of those hundreds of boxes was an email. It was a conversation between a bank vice president and the bank's chief lawyer. In it, they openly discussed how there would never be a discovery process, so there was no need to bother destroying incriminating documents. They mocked my brother, calling him a small-time country lawyer who would surely quit once his client's frozen accounts meant he was no longer getting paid. Most chillingly, they discussed how Mrs. Vance would likely die from her Alzheimer's long before the case ever concluded. They were so arrogant, so certain of their victory, that they put their illegal and immoral strategy in writing, and then failed to destroy the evidence. On Monday morning, When Liam entered that email into evidence, the entire atmosphere in the courtroom shifted. The bank's lawyers, who had been smug and condescending just moments before, immediately motioned for a recess. They offered to settle for, as the papers loved to say, an undisclosed sum. In a separate part of the lawsuit, Liam also won his client an additional $13 million. The fallout for the mastermind, the primary financial agent who stole the money, was catastrophic. His name was Richard Sterling. He ended up serving a long sentence in the same federal prison that housed Bernie Madoff, convicted on a cocktail of charges including tax fraud, bank fraud, and forgery. He lost his home, the beach house he'd bought with Mrs. Vance's money, had his financial broker license permanently revoked, and his wife left him. Sadly, Mrs. Vance did pass away before the case was fully settled. The money went to her son and to a large charitable trust. The ultimate irony? The main motive for Sterling's theft wasn't just greed. He desperately wanted to use the money to elevate his standing in the community. He even donated large sums of the stolen cash to charities to get his name on gala invitations and receive philanthropic awards. Today, Richard Sterling is broke, disgraced, and forgotten. And the charitable trust that received the settlement money? It elected my brother, Liam, as its main trustee. So now, he's the one going to the galas, he's the one getting the awards, and he's the one disbursing the very money he won back to see countless people benefit from his work. As one observer put it, it's just such sweet justice when someone's arrogance comes back to bite them. This story is a powerful reminder that mandatory arbitration clauses overwhelmingly benefit corporations at the consumer's expense. In as many as 98% of cases, it shows that these clauses can shield companies from accountability even when their employees commit criminal acts. Always remember to opt out whenever you possibly can. So, let me ask you, have you ever been faced with a contract full of fine print designed to take away your rights, and felt there was nothing you could do?